Will Illinois gun ban challenges be next up to the U.S. Supreme Court after earlier this week the Supreme Court denied taking the gun ban challenge out of Maryland and cited one case that's in the appeals court? Well, I guess it's no longer in the appeals court. The Veramontes case has been, decided. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. So we break down things for you to know about here in the land of Lincoln. Get the headlines at thecentersquare.com, where you will see today's headline about how Illinois gun ban challenges could be the next up in front of the Supreme Court. The Maryland case, we'd waited, 16 weeks to get some clarity as to whether the U.S. Supreme Court was going to take the challenge of Maryland's ban on semi-automatic rifles like the AR-15. And after 16 weeks of them having it in conference, Monday they came out with that statement saying that it's a question they're going to get to, just not right now. And Brett Kavanaugh, Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, said that there are many cases still working through the federal judiciary, including the Veramontes case that is against Cook County and the state of Illinois, challenging the gun and magazine ban. And this case is all the way through the appeals court now. District court sided with the state and the county. The appeals court heard the case in November. And then Monday, after SCOTUS released their order list denying the Maryland's challenge, the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals Monday put out their order siding with the state, affirming the district court's ruling, the Northern District Court's ruling in that case, Veramontes. This while you've got the Southern District of Illinois case, where a district judge found the law unconstitutional, and that is now in the appeals courts, but the appeals court has not heard oral arguments. Friday, the plaintiffs in that case are going to respond to the state who appealed to the appeals court. So we'll get that document in hand. Programming note, I'm off Friday, so we'll talk about that on Monday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. But I connected with Alan Gottlieb. He's a leader with the Second Amendment Foundation, and the Second Amendment Foundation is a plaintiff in a lot of these gun ban challenges, including the Veramontes case. Chatted with him briefly yesterday and got his idea of just an overall sense of where things are.
Well, I believe the Supreme Court is going to hear a case on gun rights as soon as they probably can. One of our problems this session is that with all the heavy workload the court has, and all this stuff on the emergency calendar with all the suits against the Trump administration, it's hard for them to take any cases right now, and it's clogging everything up. They signaled that they're going to take a gun case. The question is which one. And I still think it's probably going to be an assault and ban case that comes up first from another state. They're just waiting because there's so many of them working through the courts right now, like about a dozen.
So Gottlieb talking about how there's a lot of cases out there, and some of them could come from Illinois. But I did want to take a look briefly here again as to what the Supreme Court justices had to say. Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote the majority opinion denying taking Maryland's case, said although the court today denies cert, a denial of cert does not mean the court agrees with the lower court decision or that the issue is not worthy of review. Arguing the U.S. Supreme Court should have taken the Maryland case, Justice Clarence Thomas wrote the AR-15s are arms protected by the Second Amendment. He said that tens of millions of Americans own AR-15s, and the overwhelming majority of them do so for lawful purposes, including self-defense and target shooting. Our Constitution allows the American people, not the government, to decide which weapons are useful for self-defense. So that really signals some interesting things here. Gottlieb saying that he likes what the justices have written, and it gives him some hope that Illinois will be a state where the cases coming out of here are going to be in front of the U.S. Supreme Courts.
I really like what the Supreme Court justices have written. That's why I have really good faith that they're going to take another case. The question is when. They really overloaded in this session, and it's a real problem. And they know how many more cases are going to be hitting their special calendar, so to speak, with these suits against the Trump administration. And so it's really difficult for them to take some of these complicated cases that are going to take a lot of time to end up writing an opinion on. And there are so many gun rights cases going through the courts right now that I think they're waiting for some of this more to clear to give them a better idea which one to pick and choose.
Now, which one is it going to be again? Is it going to be the Illinois Veramontes case, or is it going to be the Southern District case, Barnett, that has a pretty solid record? And one thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to review the records of both of these cases, right? The Veramontes case, if I recall, didn't have a really in-depth hearing like they had, like a trial, right? It didn't have a 4-day bench trial like they had in the Southern District. The Northern District Court heard arguments, and that was pretty much it. And then in the Southern District, you had 4 days worth of testimony and documentation and discussions about military grade versus modern-day sporting rifles or civilian-grade rifles, and the metallurgy and the difference between full auto, semi-auto, and burst, and how the military uses full auto, and whether or not it's recommended that they use full auto in the military, and the concerns of societal safety and all of this. So they had a really long record that the district judge used to determine that the state's gun and magazine ban was unconstitutional. Is that what's going to get in front of the Supreme Court, or is the Veramontes case going to get in front of the Supreme Court, or both eventually going to get to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court consolidates those cases? How this is going to work out, especially when you've got cases out of New Jersey and California as well. But that Veramontes case, after SCOTUS issued their order list on Monday saying they're not taking the Maryland case, almost instantly you had the Veramontes case in the appeals court decided, and that opens things up for a possible Illinois case getting in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. Last word from Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation.
Yes, we are a plaintiff in that case, and it's a great possibility that's going to be one that gets to the Supreme Court. Or another case out of Illinois, because there are so many of them, they're already even ahead of the schedule on that one. It's very likely an Illinois case is what the Supreme Court will hear.
And we'll be watching as to when that happens very closely. Like I said, Veramontes decided already in the appeals court Monday. Are they going to take that to the U.S. Supreme Court? What about the Barnett case in the Southern District? Again, briefs are being filed. No oral arguments have been set in the appeals court for the Barnett case, but we do have the filing from the state appealing the district court's decision. We're expecting the plaintiffs to file their brief Friday, and then the state will have a month to reply to that brief, and then maybe we'll get oral arguments. So keep it here with Illinois in Focus Daily, and we'll keep you updated. Get the headlines at thecentersquare.com, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily, the Center Square.